From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Here's the reality. College classrooms don't look the same as they used to.
3D virtual anatomy allows basically a view inside of the body.
Plus, Billings businesses are beginning to help their employees who struggle to afford childcare.
We offer daycare to all of our employees here.
And we'll tell you why a number of Montanans are celebrating a Dustin Hoffman film more than 50 years after it hit theaters. Good morning and welcome to Montana This Morning on this Wednesday, June 21st. I'm Diane Parker. Augusta has the day off. We begin this morning with a closer look at the $142 million Billings Parks Improvement Plan. City Council will soon decide if they'll ask taxpayers to fund a number of projects some argue are well overdue. Here's Q2's David J.
A big portion of the potential bond issue would go to pay for a recreation center at Amen Park. They also want to build some community centers and replace some buildings at other parks, such as here at Pioneer Park. They say they haven't had any major projects or added any parks since the 1980s. Billings' population continues to grow. Homes and apartments are being built nearly everywhere you look, but new development hasn't led to more parks.
It's a big hurdle, but it's exciting.
Castle Rock Park, the city's newest, was developed in the late 80s, but a new $142 million bond hopes to change that.
We're going to touch all segments of this community. Everybody's going to get something, and I think really activate these spaces in those neighborhoods.
The bond, along with money collected from the South Billings Urban Renewal District, would pay for a $113 million recreation center that would include 2 sheets of ice and a 50-meter swimming pool at Amen Park.
That could be an economic driver for, especially for, restaurants, motels, things like that. Kids don't come play hockey by themselves. They bring parents and siblings, and so they stay through the weekend and they, spend money while they're here.
Also part of the proposal, a new pool and building at South Park, along with community centers at Pioneer, Centennial, and North Parks. The new Stagecoach Trail is also included next to Zimmerman Park.
The biggest question is, how do you get it done? How do you get it done properly without hurting all the citizens that are already here? Is that taxpayer money? Is it this? Is it that?
I think taxpayers would be more than willing to help the kids. It's going to help a lot of kids, to be able to be involved with activities that they can afford sometimes.
At a work session on Monday, Police Chief Rich St. John talked about the potential impact he says these parks have to improve public safety.
It builds that sense of community around a neighborhood. You have a really nice neighborhood or community park with a community center there. That's a draw.
The city will vote on July 10th whether or not to put the $142 million bond issue up for a vote in November. In Billings, David J., MTN News.
And now it's time to get a quick check of the weather with Miller, and it's started out foggy out there.
Yeah, foggy here in Billings. We got a nice little deck there across some portions of the area as it's kind of sinking in. So you may not get see this, but some of you may. So if you're driving this morning, watch out, limited visibility. Take care of yourself. The folks driving next to you, watch out for pedestrians as well. Big story coming off of yesterday was those temperatures. Some of us maybe a good 20 degrees below the norm. I mentioned a lot of us may not get out of the 50s. We didn't do that here in Billings. We didn't get out of the 50s. We hit 59 for the high. Overnight low of 49. That was below average. Now we're going to be a little warmer today for the first day of summer, but still below the norm with our temperatures. Yesterday I mentioned maybe 1/10 of an inch of rainfall. That's what we got, a little bit more than that. And we could see some more of that as we go along today to add to those moisture totals for the month and for the year. We're in good shape as it stands right now. And then Friday, watch out for Friday. We could really pump up those numbers as we anticipate a lot of heavy rainfall on our way, and I'll explain why coming up. But the big story again this morning, some fog across the area. Please be careful driving. 47 right now at the airport. Winds are calm. Temperatures across the area from west to east, 30s, 40s, and 50s. We're at the freezing mark right now in White Sulphur Springs. You can see off to our east, we do have a slug of moisture with a little bit of rain falling. Not expecting any severe weather today, just general thunderstorms, although some of those storms could turn strong. And then comes Friday, where it could be kind of bumpy. I'll explain why coming up in just a bit.
All right, I love those cliffhangers.
Oh.
I think it's going to be so nice and sunny and a great day for the pool, right? Friday?
We'll see if that pans out. I'll let you know coming up.
All right, thanks, Miller.
Okay.
This morning, a Helena judge is weighing her decision in the highly publicized Held versus Montana lawsuit. Closing arguments wrapped up yesterday. 16 Montana kids and young adults sued the state for its investments in oil, gas, and coal development. They argue these deals violate the Montana Constitution's right to a clean and healthy environment. But lawyers for the state say Montana's greenhouse gas output isn't large enough to make a noticeable difference. Judge Kathy Seeley has yet to reach a decision on the case. Even if she sides with the plaintiffs, she says Montana will not be required to make any policy changes. A new study shows the cost of childcare in Montana now exceeds the cost of some mortgage payments and rent. It's keeping parents home and out of the workforce. As Q2's Kelsey Marison reports, companies are getting creative to get experienced candidates back on the job.
The cost of childcare is oftentimes a barrier when it comes to parents joining the workforce, but some employers have decided to combat that by offering free childcare for their employees, like here at Granite Health and Fitness in Billings.
You have to wait. The cost of childcare can be crippling. Something Karina Croker knows all too well.
I was a stay-at-home mom up until this position came into my life because it was unaffordable.
Croker now works here at Granite Health and Fitness, which is getting creative to try and attract employees by offering free childcare.
As long as you work a minimum amount of hours per week, we offer daycare to all of our employees here.
But businesses like this are the exception. According to Montana Childcare Business Connect, nearly 70,000 parents in Montana are not fully participating in the workforce due to lack of childcare, and 40% of Montana businesses say they are unable to retain qualified employees due to the rising costs.
On average, households pay just a little over $16,000 in childcare annually. And if you have multiple children in childcare, I mean, it adds up.
MCCBC works with childcare providers to lower the costs they charge families, helping them find ways to remain profitable while lowering costs.
The whole business model of childcare is very expensive, which is why it costs families so much.
But until that business model gets a complete makeover, the cost of childcare will remain a hurdle for many parents, and many will continue to look for alternatives, including workplaces like this.
Don't fall.
Thanks to free childcare through her employer, Karina is now able to work full-time and pursue her career, a barrier that had previously kept her out of the workforce.
It gives you an opportunity to get your foot in the door. I know a lot of stay-at-home moms or even stay-at-home dads aren't able to work. It's going to help parents grow in their career.
In Billings, Kelsey Marison, MTN News.
Here in Billings, a new truck driving academy is training a group of students for a career with plenty of opportunity. The industry needs drivers in the worst way. Last year, there were 78,000 open positions across the country. 160 Driving Academy in the Heights graduated 30 new drivers back in January. Instructors say some of them will make six figures right out of the gate. And as companies compete for a shrinking pool of applicants, they hope more women will consider a driving career.
I read a statistic recently that said that it's 1/3 of truck drivers are women now. We do need a refreshment of, new blood to come in and take up the mantle.
Driver pay has gone up more than 10% each of the past 2 years. New this morning, congressional Republicans say their investigations into Hunter Biden will continue despite the president's son agreeing to a plea deal in Delaware. As CBS's Jared Hill explains, GOP members say the agreement was nothing more than a slap on the wrist.
New political fallout amid legal woes for Hunter Biden. President Biden's son is pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts of willful failure to pay federal income tax on annual earnings in excess of $1.5 million, while a third count, possession of a handgun by a drug user, would be dismissed if Hunter Biden remains drug-free and commits no additional crimes during a specified period of time. A source familiar says Biden's legal team expects probation, but not jail time.
If you are the president's leading political opponent, the DOJ tries to literally put you in jail and give you prison time. If you are the president's son, you get a sweetheart deal.
David Weiss, the U.S. attorney in Delaware who led the probe, was appointed by then-President Trump and left in place by the Biden administration. But congressional Republicans claim the agreement shows a double standard, as a Trump-appointed judge set an August trial date in the case related to his handling of classified documents. In California Tuesday, President Biden responded to questions about Hunter's plea.
I'm very proud of my son.
While the legal chapter may be done for Hunter Biden, Republicans leading the House Oversight Committee say their investigation into the Biden family's foreign business dealings is far from over. Jared Hill, CBS News.
The judge still has to accept the plea agreement. A date has not been set for Hunter Biden's surrender. Staff at Montana's newest college is getting ready to teach the inaugural group of students starting classes next month. 50 years ago, Rocky Vista University professors might have been opening a fresh package of chalk. But in 2023, they're setting up the latest technology to give medical students hands-on training inside of virtual reality.
The 3D virtual anatomy allows basically a view from, if you will, inside of the body or outside of the body, being able to remove different structures in a three-dimensional space. This is not offered at lots of medical universities, but it's a really growing trend. We're all about innovation here. We're trying to create an experience for the students that is both the most effective in terms of how they learn for their time, and also to reduce their stress.
Rocky Vista professors say the technology could change the future of medical schools, giving students an opportunity to learn and practice without a cadaver. New this morning, it's hard to find a movie that made a bigger splash in Crow Country than Little Big Man, starring Dustin Hoffman. The film tells the story of a man raised by Cheyenne tribal members who fights and survives in the Battle of the Little Bighorn. As MTN's Jackie Coffin learns, it still means a lot to everyone involved.
Positively Montana is sponsored by Yellowstone Valley Electric Cooperative.
It's a rainy day here in Gary Owen, but that didn't dampen any spirits as people came here to relive Hollywood history, looking back at the scenes of Little Big Man shot here at the Medicine Tail Coulee.
Some of the most iconic scenes of a movie that made Hollywood history, filmed right here in Montana.
This movie was very important to the Crow community because, first of all, the excitement.
Little Big Man is a 1970 Western that redefined the role of American Indians in cinema, flipping the script of the American frontier and shifting the focus to indigenous people.
The first major box office hit movie that dealt with Indians as people. It developed character, it showed family life.
And it leaned on Montanans' Native American communities to host, help, and act in the production.
Today we are still here because of the warriors that we portrayed stood their ground.
Them days of Little Big Man.
Duke Goes Ahead was 14 years old when the film crew came to town looking for Native American riders.
I was 14 years old and I rode a lot of horses back then. Riding horses was part of participating in as a warrior, as a Sioux warrior.
And some of his favorite memories are watching a Hollywood crew in action.
Then I understood why you had to film it, then cut it off, and then you do it again.
And riding down the bluff in the Battle of Little Bighorn.
They told us to put your feet against the front flanks, and lay back and hang on.
Reliving the film and preserving its history is the goal of a 3-day symposium in Hardin featuring panels, tours, and exhibitions.
And my thinking was, hey, there's still people alive who can talk about this just 50 years later, so let's do it now.
An incredible collection of Little Big Man memorabilia shows the impact the movie had beyond Montana.
Cut, and they told us to go back up there. We're going to take another one.
Panels of actors, extras, and experts came together to discuss the movie and their firsthand memories. More than 50 years after the movie came out, the legacy of Little Big Man and its giant leap forward for representation of Native Americans lives on fondly in Crow Country.
Not everybody gets to do it, but I can say that I did.
In Hardin, Jackie Coffin, MTN News.